Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of r/Fatlogic. I have some news and stuff to share, but we're going to save that to the end and just kind of jump right into the video now. I need recommendations for a PCP in blank or thereabouts who take state insurance and are not fat phobic. My PCP has given up trying to find the reason for my shortness of breath. She's now insistent that it is weight related. I'm equally frustrated with not knowing what it is and with her giving up. Maybe I need a mysterious illness team or something. Anyone have any recommendations? So I didn't fully read through this before I decided to read it out on camera. Is this satire? Because the mysterious illness team, I gotta... So it is not satire. Oh my god. Wow. Honey, if your doctor has actually gone through the routine of trying to find different reasons for your shortness of breath before coming to it being weight related, you have to accept some level that maybe, just maybe, it could be weight related. Alright? It's not like shortness of breath. You don't have some mysterious illness. It's not like your body is an enigma that the medical field doesn't understand. I'm not saying that that doesn't exist, but I've never heard of that happening with just shortness of breath. That is all, the only symptom that you have is shortness of breath. And your doctor has checked for other things, clearly from the way that this is written out. Except that it's weight related. Granted, I don't know how heavy you are, but if she's convinced that it's weight related, chances are you're a bit heavier. And just fucking start walking. Start walking. Start exercising. Not, if you have issues with shortness of breath, don't go ham with it. But, start walking. And see if, as you increase your exercise and stuff, your shortness of breath improves and maybe you lose a little weight. And see if your shortness of breath improves. Let's say, maybe, just maybe, let's just pretend for a moment that it is just a mysterious illness. You know a faster way to get people to really consider that? Try losing a little bit of weight first and see if your symptoms just don't improve. Just try. Just try. I think they will improve, especially since your doctor has clearly tried other things, as you put her as giving up, meaning that she's tried other things and is now giving up and just saying it's weight related. So maybe, just maybe, your doctor's right about it being weight related. Maybe. Maybe. This is your semi-regular reminder that the obesity epidemic is fake. The existence of fat people was never an epidemic because fat people existed before COVID, and no one was trapped in their homes because of us. So this is definitely something where it's like, what? What? And I actually had to read a little bit of OP's title and post of this, a comment that they put, just to kind of see if I could get a little bit of context. But what it seems to be is that they are confusing epidemic with pandemic and endemic. I think they think that epidemic is what an endemic is, and it's not. No one's saying fat people didn't exist before COVID. People are saying that more and more people are becoming obese, and it's tied to health issues. So, maybe it's an issue. Maybe people need to lose a little bit of weight. That doesn't mean that it's not an epidemic. No one is saying that it is a contagious disease. We're not saying that it is a contagious disease. We are saying it is an epidemic. There's a growing trend of people who are obese, and chances are everyone getting trapped in their homes contributed, because I think there was the quarantine 15 was a thing. I gained some weight during quarantine, and I know a lot of people did, so that certainly didn't help the obesity epidemic. But no one's saying that epidemic means that everyone needs to stay in their homes and be in quarantine. That's not what epidemic means. It goes to show that they don't fully understand what they're saying, and they don't understand the science of what they're spouting. And they are horribly misinformed. I feel ginormous 99% of the time because my BMI says I'm overweight, and docs always say I should lose weight, but then people tell me I'm a small little thing. So, as someone who also carries their weight very well, I've had people, like, when there was a time, when I was as heavy as my starting weight when I started this thing, which was around 196. And I was kind of lamenting, I'm like, oh my god, I'm almost 200 pounds. And I had coworkers who were like, well, it's all muscle. I also had a coworker at a different job. This was when I was a little bit smaller. I was around like 177, 180. That was like, well, you know, you're young and skinny. I wasn't skinny. I carry my weight well, but I'm not skinny. People's perception can be skewed. I think if you are surrounded by people that are a bit bigger, and you're smaller than the rest of them, they're not going to see you as being a bit overweight. And I think in general, especially in the US, our perception of weight isn't very accurate when it comes to, like, health. There's a little bit of conflation with a healthy weight to what's still an attractive weight. Like, the weight that I am now, I can dress in such a way that I still look very nice and attractive. But I'm not healthy. I'm not at a healthy weight. I'm not 100% sure I would say this belongs on r/Fatlogic. Especially if she's only in the overweight BMI, because I'm like just crossed the overweight barrier into obese class 1. I'm almost to the point where I'm back in the overweight category, which makes me very happy though. But if she's like middle of the road overweight, then chances are some people aren't necessarily going to notice, because our perception of what overweight is has that perception of a body being overweight has grown. Like, we don't see overweight as classified by the BMI as overweight. We typically don't identify someone as overweight until they hit the obese category, and they're like somewhat in the obese category of the BMI. That kind of confusion over, well, you know, the doctor says I should need to lose weight, but everyone else says I'm fine. I can actually kind of see how that could be difficulty going back and forth between the two. Now, if she regularly spouts, you know, fat acceptance, fat liberation, and the toxic body positivity side of that movement, then maybe this does belong on Fatlogic. But I think that this is kind of a reasonable level of confusion, where she's like, the BMI says I'm overweight, but everyone else calls me a small little thing. Well, depending on the size of the people that are talking for you, but sometimes even like a very thin coworker thought that I was just muscular. And I'm not. I don't have well-defined muscles at all. I just like movement. I have fairly strong legs, but like my upper body isn't super muscular. There's a perception issue with people, and so I think this long meandering rambling is just me getting to say, I do believe that people call her a small little thing, especially if she's only in the overweight category of the BMI. But I think that's a mistaken perception, and not that the BMI is wrong. And that being said, I also wouldn't just focus just on the BMI if you're, depending on how far into the overweight category you are. Today's reminder: you are not more morally superior because you worked out today or ate vegetables. So I really don't understand this concept of morality around food and working out that the Fatlogic people keep trying to put up front. I don't think anyone is morally superior for working out. I don't think anyone is morally superior for having a cleaner diet. I don't think anyone is morally superior for losing weight. This whole morally superior thing that they keep spouting really confuses me a bit. Because I'm like, no one's arguing a point of morality. And it kind of feels like it's trying to turn the whole fat liberation, fat acceptance movement into a morality issue, as a way of saying that's ridiculous. I guess, kind of like a straw man argument, I think, because no one's arguing that there's, morally superior or inferior levels in whether you worked out or ate vegetables. But they create that rhetoric and then point out how that seems ridiculous, because it does seem ridiculous that we would equate morality with working out or eating vegetables. It's a healthier thing to do, but I don't necessarily think it makes you morally a better person for doing it. But I think by creating that argument, that false argument against, by setting up the argument that morality is in play here, they can kind of try to legitimize their movement more. Restrictive eating to reduce weight, aka dieting, statistically doesn't work. This isn't a reflection of individual failure, but proof that long-term food restriction for the purpose of weight loss isn't sustainable. Restrictive eating also isn't the health-driven act that diet culture relies on us believing and throwing money at. It's the opposite, consistently harmful. No. 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 Okay. Depending on how you are qualifying restrictive eating, when I hear restrictive eating, I think like eating disorder, like where you're being really restrictive and you're not eating nearly enough. But if restrictive eating is simply like clean eating, where you are restricting the high sugar, high caloric foods in favor of lower calorie foods to feel more satiated and reduce your overall caloric intake, it can absolutely work. And someone had pointed out, a couple people had pointed out something interesting in my Fat Sapphic Bro video, where those weight regains from weight loss surgery, they acted as though they gained all of the weight back, but it was really only a little bit of the weight from their lowest weight. You've been losing and losing and losing the weight. After a couple of years, it's not completely unreasonable to gain a little bit of that back. That doesn't mean that the whole process as a whole didn't work. If you were down 250 pounds and you gained 10 pounds back, you're still down 240 pounds. Like, you might want to watch out, make sure that you might want to adjust your eating or adjust your activity level to bring your caloric deficit down enough to make sure that you're in a healthy weight range. But that doesn't mean that the weight loss surgery itself was a failure. I will say, though, that I don't think that struggling to keep the weight loss is indicative of a personal failure. I think weight loss as a whole, getting more active, eating better, is a process and a learning process, and it's kind of the same thing when they talk about those roads to like financial and career success, where it's not a straight road from I'm starting at the beginning and I take the exact right road and I hit success, but if I take the exact wrong road, I hit failure. In reality, success for anything, learning a skill, losing weight, applying for jobs, it's failure, 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 success. Like, you kind of keep hammering away at it a lot of the time. It's not guaranteed. Success isn't ever guaranteed, but I think the more you try, the better chance you have of finding some success. And just because someone fails, I don't think that is indicative of that weight loss isn't sustainable. I don't think it's indicative that any attempts to moderate your eating is negative and doesn't work. I don't think any of those things are correct. I think it just means you tried something, you ended up not being able to stick to it. What can you learn from it? What can you take forward? And how can you adjust your plan so that way you can remain in a state of success? But that's me. Your relationship with your body is infinitely more sacred and more important than your body's relationship with gravity. What in the fuck? Like, So I think what they're saying is how you feel about yourself is more important than your weight. I think that this is their very, like, attempted poetic way of phrasing that. But I say you can love yourself, love the skin you're in, love your body as much as you want, but if your body is so big that it is causing health issues, it is causing joint issues, it is causing acid reflux or GERD or diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol, any of those, love your body through the struggle of losing weight. And I think that's something, is that a lot of the Fatlogic people like to frame weight loss and workouts and dieting as a form of punishment for yourself. Like, I've seen ones where they're like, it's as a punishment for being fat. It should not be viewed as a punishment. I think that's a good way of setting yourself up for failure, is you don't view dieting and exercise as a form of punishment. Now, if you want to get into exercise as a way to lose weight, you want to get into tracking your calories and stuff as a way to lose weight, that's not wrong, and I don't think that sets you up for failure. But I think putting it as, if you go into it with the thought process of, I'm a fat cow and I need to not eat XYZ and make sure to exercise all this because I am fat and I don't deserve it, then I think you're in a toxic mindset and you are setting yourself up for failure, because you are coming at weight loss as a punishment for where you are. And it's not. Weight loss should really be seen as a learning process. It's a way for you to find ways of exercise that you like. I think everyone should have an active hobby of some sort, whether it be running or sports or what have you. Because it's a way to find enjoyment in staying fit. But you can't love yourself out of a desperate medical situation. You can't love yourself out of the grave. You can't love yourself out of diabetes, out of high blood pressure, out of aching joints. You can't love yourself out of that. And a way to show yourself love is to take care of it, to move more, to take care of your body and move more, and diet so that way your body is more comfortable. That is a way of showing yourself self-love. If healthcare workers are being injured caring for fat patients, that is also a training and equipment issue. Fat people are deserving of hospital care. It's not our fault your workplace conditions are unsafe. Do you not realize the amount of work that healthcare workers have to do? What exactly do you expect them to do if someone is unstable on their feet? I'm not a healthcare worker, but I care for a couple of elderly family members who are both, they're both between like 80 to 100 pounds because they're both pretty short, and they're old and they fall and a lot. One of them falls a lot. She's not very steady on her feet. And so I have to be able to pick her up, essentially, because her legs aren't strong anymore. And there's no equipment. I don't think that there's even equipment at a hospital if you're just trying to help a patient get from one end of the hallway to another. And the goal is for them to get used to a movement and to be moving, and it's better for their blood circulation and it's better for their particular injury to have them moving rather than to wheel them on a bed. There's no, as far as I know, and granted I'm fairly ignorant of the current equipment available in a healthcare setting, but as far as I know, there's no equipment for helping in that short distance. That person is just there to catch the person should they fall. And if a person is very heavy, then yes, you stand to risk injuring healthcare workers. There's only so much available. Hallways, and to clutter the hallways of a hospital with equipment stands its own level of risk if someone needs to be rushed from their room to the ICU, and there's this big piece of equipment to make sure that if a fat person falls, that they'll be able to be caught without getting anyone getting injured, then that creates more obstruction in the hallway that could make emergencies far more dangerous and life-threatening. No, I'm sorry, this isn't a training and equipment issue. This is people are getting too fat. This is, healthcare workers are fucking human and can only help someone who's so heavy. This is a situation of hospitals can't afford every new shiny piece of equipment to help the handful of people that eat entirely too much to the point that they would need the equipment that would be bought. Like, it's so fucking dumb. This is so stupid. The idea that thin people have fast metabolisms and fat people have slow metabolisms is rooted in fatphobia. It assumes that fat bodies are just failed thin bodies. The truth is that bodies come in different sizes and shapes. So I'm not really getting how fast metabolisms for thin people and slow metabolisms for fat people, I'm not understanding how that is a failed thin body. I'm not trying to be like purposely dense, but I'm not fully understanding their point here. And bodies can come in different shapes and sizes within a range. But I think saying, wholesale bodies just come in different shapes and sizes and leave it at that, I think that's a bit of an issue, because I am firmly in the camp that if you are 600 pounds, no, your body is not meant to be that way. If you are 500 pounds, your body is not meant to be that way. If you are 400 pounds, your body is not meant to be that way. And I could keep going on, but I will stop there. The body is only meant to carry so much weight, and all of your set point theory rhetoric doesn't work. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I don't think that the body has, barring, based on your height and maybe some medical conditions, I don't think your body is meant to be outside of a prescribed range. And even if you do meet certain criteria that put you outside of that range, it's not super far outside of that range. No one expects you to be 6'3" and 120 pounds. That would make you underweight. And, if you're significantly shorter, 120 pounds would actually be a very reasonable weight for you. So, like I said before, there is a range to be had. All bodies come in different shapes and sizes. It's so hard because, on its face, yes, this is true. Bodies do come in different shapes and sizes. We all carry fat a little differently. We all have different eating habits, different exercise ranges, and so there is going to be some variation in how we look, and I don't think anyone should be ridiculed for that. And in general, I really don't think anyone should be ridiculed simply for being fat. And if I've ever given the impression that I am making fun of someone simply for being fat, please let me know, because that is never my intention. I don't think people should be made fun of simply for being fat. I try to focus more on some of their ridiculous arguments. But I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore, so I'm going to end it here. A couple things I want to note. One, I'm down 1/2 pound, which is better than last week, but I think I'm realizing what my issue is. I have trail mix with my protein bar for lunch, and I had gotten into the habit of estimating, and I think slowly but surely my estimations have gotten bigger and bigger, and so I'm taking in more calories than I realized, and that's why I've been maintaining instead of losing weight, because trail mix gets high in calories fast. So I'm going to go back to taking a measuring cup with me and measuring out what I'm actually eating rather than estimating. And we'll see how my weight loss goes from there. I've also started running. I had a community post on, I'm hoping to post a community post for Sunday the 24th, but I started posting about running on the 17th, and I think I'm going to post once a week on the community post for that, and I'd love to hear any and all progress reports from all of you. I find it very motivating to be kind of talking with you in these comments and in the community posts and stuff. I'm surprised at how exhausting running is, though, when you start out. Like, every time after my run, I'm exhausted. I'm hoping that changes and it's just a matter of getting used to it. What's really interesting about it is that once you're done, it's like the endorphins hit you all at once and you're exhausted, but like it's a really feel-good exhausted. And I could just crash. I don't, but I could. And it's definitely, once I've learned how to pace myself a little bit more, it's quite enjoyable to just go for a run. It feels, I don't know how to explain it, but it's definitely like this kind of zen process that I really like. Something really positive happened to me at work. So I've mentioned before that I am kind of a teacher in training. I'm doing my student teaching this school year. All of my observations because of COVID are just recorded. And something really sweet happened. So while I was out dealing with an argument that had broken out between 3 students, 2 of my other students had jumped in front of the camera because they know that there's someone that evaluates me, and they're like, "She is a good teacher. She's a good teacher. I think they said like give her an A or something like that." And it was just so fucking sweet, you guys. Oh my god, I about teared up when I saw it. It was so sweet. So overall, a pretty good week for me. It's definitely, I feel like I'm starting to get into a rhythm. It's still pretty hard, but I'm hoping that as time goes on, it will feel less difficult, and maybe by my 2nd year of teaching, I'll be in like a really set, good routine. But I was originally planning on talking more, but now I can't remember, and this is why I should make notes for myself. But, so I'm going to just end it here. Thank you so much for watching. And, oh my god, at the time of this recording, we're like nearly up to 800 subscribers. What the fuck? This is so cool. This is so cool. Thank you, everyone who has subscribed, everyone who watches the videos. It's amazing. I love talking with you all. I will say comments are getting a little bit harder for me to stay on top of. So if I miss your comment, I'm sorry. I do read every single one, and I try to go back on the weekends or on days when like my workload is lighter and try to comment and like and do all of that stuff, but it really is starting to get like away from me. So if I miss your comment, I'm sorry. But please know that I appreciate every single one. I appreciate you guys engaging with my videos. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate everything. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.